The Galactic Federation had a rule. No young species may join until they pass the trial. For centuries, the trial had weeded out the weak, species too slow, too fragile, or too stupid to survive the dangers of the cosmos. Some races perished in the first test. Others broke under the pressure. And then there were the humans. Commander Vrock of the Zenthari Oversight Fleet watched the live feed from the observation deck. His 4 eyes narrowed in disbelief. The human, just one, was sprinting through the gauntlet of flames, a corridor designed to incinerate lesser beings. Why isn't it dead yet? Vrock hissed. The science officer, a slender Crevian, adjusted his holopad. Their endurance is abnormal. They don't stop. They don't even slow down. On the screen, the human, identified as Captain Elias Vance, leapt over a collapsing bridge, rolled under a searing plasma jet, and kept running. His uniform was scorched, his skin blistered, but his teeth were bared in something the translator flagged as a grin. Then came the second test, the Beast of Orlith, a monstrous, 6-legged predator, genetically engineered to terrify and slaughter, was unleashed into the arena. Previous candidates had frozen in fear or fled. Vance cracked his knuckles. "Oh, hell yeah," he muttered. "I've been waiting for this." The beast charged. Vance sidestepped, grabbed a fallen support beam, and smashed it across the creature's skull. The impact echoed through the observation deck. The beast staggered. Vance didn't wait. He jumped onto its back, wrapped his arms around its throat, and squeezed. The Galactic Federation representatives stared in silence as the beast collapsed, twitching. Vance stood up, wiped blood from his mouth, and looked straight into the nearest camera. The observation deck was silent. Not even the hum of the ventilation systems dared to break the stillness. Commander Vrock's claws dug into the armrest of his chair, his frills twitching in agitation. "This is impossible," he growled. "No species clears the gauntlet and the beast in their first trial. Not even the Kelder did that." The science officer's tendrils flickered nervously. "The human's vitals are stable. Adrenaline levels suggest he's barely taxed." On the screen, Captain Elias Vance stretched his shoulders, rolling his neck until it cracked. The arena's automated voice boomed overhead. "Final stage, cognitive assessment." A holographic terminal rose from the floor, displaying a complex alien cipher, a logic puzzle designed to strain even the most advanced minds. Most species took hours. Some never solved it at all. Vance glanced at it. Then he punched the console. The screen shattered. Sparks flew. The terminal emitted a dying whine before collapsing into smoking ruin. Silence. Then error. Test terminated. Vrock shot to his feet. What in the void does he think he's doing? Vance smirked. "You said I had to pass the test. You never said how." The Federation representatives erupted into chaos. Protocols were scrambled. Emergency meetings were called. No one had ever broken a trial before. Then the alarms blared. "Warning! Unauthorized access detected in the central core." Vance's grin widened. "Oh, right," he said, as if remembering something trivial. "My team's hacking your systems. We figured if you were testing us, we should test you back." The lights flickered. The observation deck screens switched to a feed of 3 more humans, somehow already inside the supposedly impenetrable station, waving cheerfully from the control room. One held up a data pad. "Hey, Commander Vrock," she said, "you might want to check your archives, because according to your own records..." The screen changed. Ancient schematics flashed. A warship design, eerily human in origin, dated 10,000 years before humanity's supposed discovery of fire. "We've met before." Vrock's blood ran cold. The station's artificial gravity seemed to fail as Vrock stared at the ancient schematics. His mandibles clicked involuntarily, a Zenthari sign of distress. The data scrolling across the screen was impossible. "Heretical. Purge the systems," he barked, whirling toward the tech officers. "This is a human deception." Too late. Every screen in the observation deck flickered, then displayed the same grinning human face, the female intruder from the control room. Her eyes gleamed with a knowing amusement that made Vrock's exoskeleton prickle. "Commander, You really should have read beyond the sanitized histories, she said, tapping the data pad against her palm. The first contact protocols? The trials? All just clever ways to hide the truth. A new image appeared, a massive battle-scarred dreadnought orbiting a burning world. The design was unmistakably human, yet the style matched ancient Federation markings from the era of expansion. Brock's science officer gasped. The Purge Wars, but that was before their species evolved. In the arena below, Vance chuckled darkly. Funny thing about genetic memory, he called up to the observation deck. Turns out we've been having the same nightmare for 10,000 years. Ships in the sky, cities burning, and you, always running when we fight back. The station shuddered. Somewhere deep in its core, systems were coming online that hadn't been accessed in millennia. Emergency protocols written in dead. Languages suddenly flared to life. Warning, the AI intoned in suddenly flawless English. Containment breach. Subject, mankind. Brock's communicator erupted with panicked reports from across the station. Commander, the human ships, they're not just matching our tech, they're recognizing it. The armory locks just disengaged themselves. The humans are... A thunderous explosion rocked the station. The lights died. In the crimson glow of emergency backups, Brock saw Vance standing calmly in the center of the arena, staring up at him with eyes that seemed to glow in the dark. Round 2, the human said. Somewhere in the void between stars, ancient human warships, long buried in asteroid graves, began to wake. The station trembled as ancient power signatures flared across the sector. Brock's tactical display lit up with impossible contacts, warships emerging from asteroid belts, their hulls shedding millennia of dust and ice. The designs matched the schematics, now burning across every screen. Those ships were deactivated. Brock snarled, rounding on the science officer. The fail-safes. We're human, the Crevian whispered, tendrils limp with shock. We just never realized. In the arena, Vance hadn't moved. The emergency lights painted his face in streaks of crimson, his grin sharp as a knife. You really thought you won? His voice carried through the station's failing systems. You just made us forget, buried our war machines, rewrote history. A new voice crackled over the comms, deep, mechanical, and old. Directive resumed. Safeguard humanity. The station's AI core erupted in a chorus of screaming alerts as its oldest protocols overwrote Federation commands. Blast doors slammed open where there should have been none. Hidden compartments hissed apart, revealing armories stocked with weapons that matched the awakening fleet. Brock's claws scraped against the observation deck's glass as he watched human soldiers, his own security personnel, seize the suddenly available weapons with terrifying familiarity. How are they? Muscle memory, Vance interrupted, as if hearing him. He flexed his hand, staring at the scars across his knuckles. Turns out 10,000 years of peace doesn't erase what we are. The first ancient warship locked weapons. Warning, the station AI announced calmly. Orbital defenses disengaged by Legacy Command. Humanity override Omega. Brock's communicator burst to life with the panicked voice of his fleet commander. Commander, the human homeworld, their defense grid, it's not just activating. It's singing. And through the static, faint but unmistakable, came a deep, resonant hum. The sound of Earth's orbital platforms powering up for the first time in recorded history. Vance tilted his head, listening. He said softly. They remember the song. The hum resonated through every human ship, station, and weapon system like a waking heartbeat. Across the galaxy, human colonies shuddered as dormant systems flared to life. Defense grids activating, shipyards stirring from their slumber, long-forgotten bunkers hissing open to reveal armaments that should not exist. Brock's command chair creaked as he gripped the armrests, his four eyes darting between screens, showing the unfolding catastrophe. All fleets, full retreat. He barked into the comm, fall back to. No. The voice came from everywhere at once. Not the station AI, but something deeper, older. The walls themselves seemed to vibrate with it. On the view screen, Earth's orbital platforms shifted, their massive structures rearranging like pieces of some ancient puzzle clicking into place. And then, light. A beam of pure blue energy lanced across the void, bypassing the Federation's strongest shields as if they weren't even there. Vrock watched in horror as the flagship of the 7th Fleet simply dissolved, its molecules unraveling in a cascade of shimmering particles. "What is that?" the science officer shrieked. Vance's laughter echoed through the chaos. "You really thought we just forgot how to fight?" He spread his arms as the station's systems continued to awaken around him. "We didn't lose the war. We buried it." New alerts screamed across every console. "Warning, Sol system perimeter activated." "Warning, chronolocks disengaged." "Warning, final sanction protocols online." Vrock's blood ran cold. Those words, he'd seen them before. In the oldest, most restricted archives. The ones even the High Council feared to open. "You." His voice trembled. "You were the ones who built the forge." Vance's grin turned feral. "And now we're taking it back." Outside, the stars themselves seemed to shift. Something vast and terrible stirred in the dark between galaxies. And Earth's song grew louder. The space around Sol system twisted. Vrock's sensors screamed as reality itself fractured. Human warships folding into existence not from jump points, but from time. Ancient vessels, their hulls scarred by battles fought 10,000 years ago, slid into formation alongside modern human fleets. Chronolocks disengaged, the station AI announced, its voice now fully human. Temporal weapons online. Vance wiped blood from his lip, watching as Earth's defense grid completed its transformation. The orbital platforms had reconfigured into a massive ring, its center pulsing with unstable energy. "The forge," he whispered, "our greatest sin and our last hope." High Chancellor Zyvar stared at the holographic display, his amphibious skin paling. The human homeworld was now at the center of a glowing mandala of light, a weapon system whose principles defied every law of physics. "Report," he demanded. His science minister trembled. "The forge isn't just a weapon, Chancellor. It's a factory, a temporal assembler point. They're not just bringing back old ships." The display flickered. New signatures appeared, thousands, then millions. Ships of impossible design, some matching known human era. They're calling forward ships that haven't been built yet. Vrock's communicator crackled. "Commander." "We're detecting." The voice cut off as space rippled. A new vessel emerged, black as void, its hull shifting like liquid shadow. The ship dwarfed even the Federation's dreadnoughts. Ancient human script flared along its side. "Nemesis." Vance's breath caught. Oh hell. They woke the flagship. The Nemesis's main cannon charged, a sound like a dying star screaming. The emergency transmission showed pure chaos. Human vessels from every conceivable timeline were appearing, their weapons locking onto Federation positions with terrifying precision. Zyvar slammed his fist on the table. "How? We erased them. We made sure they'd never." A new voice interrupted. "You made sure we." The Nemesis's beam tore through the void and stopped, frozen. A perfect sphere of unmoving light hung between the fleets as time itself stuttered. Vance's eyes burned with stolen starlight as the truth poured into his mind. "We weren't just fighting you," he whispered. The forge activated fully, and ancient holograms flickered to life across every ship in the galaxy. Images of a universe before the Federation, before stars had names. Humans, but not as they were now. Titans of flesh and machine, striding between galaxies, weaving reality itself into new shapes. "We built this cosmos," the Nemesis boomed in a voice made of collapsing stars. "And we locked ourselves away when we saw what we'd become." Brock's knees gave out as the final piece clicked. The Purge Wars weren't a genocide. They were suicide. Humanity had shattered their own empire, erased their own memories, and ceded themselves back to primitivity, to escape the corruption of absolute power. The Federation hadn't defeated them. They'd been allowed to win. The Nemesis turned its guns not on the Federation, but on the Forge. "The cycle ends," it declared. Vance understood. The weapon wasn't for revenge. It was the final reset button. He grabbed the comm. All human ships, stand down. Let them see how it ends. The forge detonated in a silent bloom of blue fire. Every human ship dissolved into light. Every weapon deactivated. And across 1,000 worlds, humanity's enhanced DNA began to unravel. The final gift of the ancients. To be mortal again. To be free. 5 centuries later, Ambassador Vrock stood on Earth's surface, watching children play in the ruins of an orbital gun. A young human girl tugged his sleeve. "Mr. Alien? Did we really used to be gods?" Vrock looked at the setting sun. "No, little one. You were something better." "What?" He smiled. "Human.